Well, good morning or evening, Frederick. How are you? I'm Danny Gurry. I am with Heather Fletcher. You're going to want to know her name. She's a write-in candidate for the Board of Education. So you're probably the one we know least about.
Yeah.
When did you decide to jump into the race?
August. Well, I made my decision in July, but officially registered in August.
Okay. And what made you decide? What was that moment that you said, you know what, I need to help?
Well, I ran in 2022,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't make it through the primary, but we only had two more conservative leaning candidates make it through the primary. There's 3 open seats. So I said, well, you know what? I'd hate to just give it away. So I decided to throw my hat in and see what we can do.
See what we can do. Now, I believe Paulette Anders was the last candidate that was a write-in. Do you recall that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
And I know it's a hard run, but
It is.
recently in Maryland, in St. Mary's County, they were able to get a write-in elected.
Okay.
So it's much
You
smaller.
never know.
You
never know.
You never know what will happen.
Well, why don't you just start with telling me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a mom of 3 young children.
Oh, wow.
12, 10, and 8. And
Ah.
so I used to be an air traffic controller at Andrews Air Force Base.
Holy cow.
Yeah, former controller of Air Force One. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, I'm going to need to have you back on the show just to talk about that at another time. That's very cool.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. And so, but once my husband and I, we live in Point of Rocks, been there for 15 years. We started a family and my priorities shifted, and I was, my husband has a demanding job and my kids needed me. And so some stuff changed at work to where I was going to have to work 6-day mandatory overtime, and it was just not going to be conducive with the family life.
Yeah.
So I decided to resign and spend all my time on kids and educating them. And I really have a passion for education. I've moved a lot in my life. Probably been to like 13 different schools in elementary age, middle and high school. So it was a lot of moving. And so I just got to experience homeschooling. I just 1 year and a couple years of private school, and then a lot of different public schools. And so I've been experienced a lot personally of different school experiences. And then also with my kids, I didn't really want to be moving them from different schools. That was not the plan.
Right.
After my moving so much, I really just thought we'd be in Point of Rocks, would put down roots, put the kids in the public school system, which was really great at the time, and we'd just be on our way.
Yeah.
But,
So what happened when your kids were in the school that made you think, you know what, we need a different direction here in Frederick County?
well, it took me 3 times of pulling my kids out of FCPS before I finally said, enough's enough. I'm not going back. I can't trust them. And so the first time when my son was in kindergarten, he was going to Carroll Manor Elementary School, and he had some difficult children in the classroom, and one was causing quite a ruckus under the table, screaming, and he was screaming out my son's name because my son tends to like to participate in acting up. He has hard time, probably high functioning autism, has a hard time fitting in general.
Right.
So when this kid was like, oh, we're going to have fun, my son was very easy,
the target.
It was hard to say
target.
no. So I was volunteering a lot right away. I was volunteering, and I said, I don't know how anyone, plus it's chaos. And I said, I don't know how any child could learn in this environment. And they took out the playstations. That year was the first year that they had taken out the play centers in kindergarten. And that really concerned me. I mean, I didn't know any better at the time, but I knew how important after I quit, I did a little preschool in my house that I didn't charge, just as a service for kids in the neighborhood, and that was a lot of fun. But I know how much kids need to play to learn.
Yeah.
And so I was really not excited about that. And they said they just don't have time to do any of that. They need to do so much other stuff. And so I said, okay, well, fast forward, I find out this other stuff is not so good, what they've replaced it with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I think you touched on this a little bit, but what do you feel makes you qualified to be a Board of Ed member during this pivotal and contentious time in education?
Well, I've been heavily involved since to the end of 2020. I got involved, and it's just increased ever since. I wanted to see if I could do a quick search in board docs, how many of my name, to see how many Board of Education meetings I've been to and spoken at in the past 3 years. It's quite a bit. Almost 2 years I was going religiously, and I would bring a group of people with us. But it was not making a difference. So we were just trying different things and just trying to switch it up a little bit. So I kind of lessened up going earlier this year. It was really getting kind of frustrating. And so I had to do something different.
Yeah, totally understand.
Yeah.
All right. So we received a bunch of questions from parents, and it's kind of broken down into teachers, students, budget, transportation, and other. So what is your stance on teachers asking the public for assistance with purchasing necessary items for classrooms that the school system does not provide? Example, classroom books, games for learning, etc.
Well, I think that the school system gets a whole lot of money, almost $1 billion a year. And Jessica Fitzwater, our county executive, just raised our taxes for money to go directly to fund the school's budget. And I think they do so much. I had another dad express concerns about how much money he's paying for sports.
Oh yeah, that's one of our questions coming up. But yes,
and it's they spend a lot of money. They literally throw money away on things they should not be, and then there's nothing left for the teachers, for the students in the classroom. So definitely reprioritizing where we're spending our money would help.
Yeah. One parent was talking about pay for teachers who are mandated to switch grades, classroom subjects in the middle of the summer. I didn't understand that at first until we were talking to Jamie Brennan, who said that when they switch, they obviously then don't have the lessons plans that they had previous years. So they have to start from scratch, and they're working many days into their summer to prepare for their new class, new grade, whatever it is. What are your thoughts on that?
I think our kids are at a really big disadvantage academically right now. And so if a kid is not ready to be in the next classroom, it's going to cause even more problems for the teacher, because then they're going to have to spend more time getting that child to catch up. And so if I kind of missed the first part of the question, but if it means that the kid is going to come into the classroom and they're just not prepared for it, and that's not going to be a good situation either. We need to do what we can to get our kids up to grade level, and then I would say put them in the right class.
Yep. So this question is more about the teachers who are switching a class or a grade. They're told in the middle of the summer, hey, you're not fourth grade anymore. You're going to third.
You're going to third.
And now they have to plan through most of their summer to prepare for a whole different thing. And they're not, that's okay. It's all good.
It's horrific what's happened to teachers. Just horrific. It used to be just such a, just an honorable, great career that, a lot of women and men would do their whole lives. They would spend because they're just passionate about the kids. And it's been really bad for them. I mean, they've been switched around so much from grade to grade. A lot of times, if you're a really good teacher, you're going to be put in a classroom that has more challenging students. And they're also given new curriculum every year and all of this stuff that they have to relearn. So it's literally like you're starting over every single year for these teachers. And it's hard. Yeah. You burn out so easily.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not fun anymore, I guess, for sure. How do you, as a Board of Ed candidate, hope to attract and retain teachers, attract new and retain the teachers we have?
I think with the size of our budget, and if we were focusing on, scientifically based academics, curriculum, and so forth, we will be best if we focus on the academics and we don't focus on anything about getting these children to learn what they need to learn so that they can succeed in this world and leave, values and different belief systems and stuff at home and just do what we pay the school system to do, which is teach our children math, reading, writing, science, etc., then, we're going to be in a lot better position. We could be the best and we could have a lot more money for our kids because we're not wasting it on replacing it with curriculum that follows into political agendas that cost a lot of money and time that is taken from our children. And I think if we did the right things for our kids and our teachers and our families, people will flock here.
Yeah.
And the teachers will want to stay because they're not, it's not like it's just Frederick where they're having difficulty. They're having difficulty all over the nation. So if we were a good school system that took care of our teachers and everybody, we would be in a lot better situation.
Well, you touched on this with your own experience, but what is your stance on student behavior issues in school? Why are there currently no consequences for disruptive, unsafe students in our schools?
Well, I think there's just a lot of corruption. So we had the Department of Justice investigation. They found that FCPS was restraining and secluding children excessively. But then the response is pretty much, okay, we can't touch a student. We can't do anything. It doesn't matter what that student is doing. And they've tied the hands of the teachers and the administration at the schools again. And it's not safe. It's not safe for the children. It's not safe for the teachers. I know many teachers who have had to take punches. I've had teachers tell me they've had to barricade students. One was streaking down a hallway, and they literally had to barricade the student because they couldn't touch the student. They just had to let the kid run out the energy until, and this was on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
So they need to have discipline and just clear discipline. This, if a child's acting up, we go, you get a warning, then the principal or the vice principal gets called. Somebody gets called, and they have to be, taken to out to the hallway and talked to. If they can't get it together, then they go down to the principal's office.
Yeah.
It's just common sense.
It does seem like common sense, but yes. And then you talked a little, you touch on this a second, how can we work towards accommodating the special education students?
Well, not keeping teachers that have been pretty much proven to be physically and verbally abusive to them, that's a start. Like I said, my son, we've done a lot of different therapies and stuff. He had an IEP. He had a 504 plan. They took him off the IEP when he should have been taken off the IEP. I left in tears asking them not to take him off the IEP. And because he's very smart, it didn't affect him academically. So the rest didn't matter to them. So, it's just... Sorry, what was our question?
It's okay. It's okay.
There's just a whole lot that's going on. And, the kids, the special ed kids, yes, it's a lot, I think, for the school system to have to also take care of these kids. So many end up having to sue the school system to go to be maybe in an environment, school that is more able to accommodate these needs. That happens all the time, and it's a huge amount of money for us. So it needs to be looked at. If it's not working, then the parents aren't happy, they're not happy, and if the kids aren't succeeding and everything, then we need to sit down and really look at it.
Speaking on the budget, how would you work on future budget cuts? Would you be a top down or bottom up?
I'm all about school choice. And ultimately, I think the reason we've gotten in such a horrible position as a school system on our MCAP scores, even though FCPS put out a press release saying that they've done much better than a lot of the different school systems in Maryland, it's just another smoke and mirrors cover-up because they don't want to tell you how they actually scored, which is 40% of English language students are not proficient, 68% of math students are not proficient, and 66% of 8th grader students were not proficient this past school year. So 70% of students, it was 68.2% of students did not pass, or the college and career ready test. They did not grade proficient on that test, 70% almost. And they pass anyway, and we're paying almost $1 billion. So in Florida, school choice has been wildly successful because the parents get a check. They say, okay, I want to put my kid in whatever school. Maybe I don't know how it works for homeschool. I don't know if they have to put it towards an actual school, but they at least have their choice between private and public school. And therefore, the public schools have to perform because otherwise they're going to go out. No one will choose them. They'll go out of business.
Yeah.
So right now they have a monopoly here. They do not have to do what's right for the kids. They do not have to listen to the parents. They don't have to do anything. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
And it's a bad situation.
Yeah. How about our older buildings? How do you hope to assist older buildings in being competitive regarding new technology with the new buildings?
I, again, think that we waste a whole lot of money. And it's astounding to me that Frederick County Public Schools Board of Education just had their boardroom updated and was closed for several months and did Zoom calls online, while Brunswick high schools have to go into their building with cockroaches and rats and leaks in the roof that is like crumbling the asbestos tiles. There's not adequate room in the hallways it's a safety fire hazard, and people that have disabilities, wheelchairs, they can't access certain areas. It's horrible. Yeah. But again, the Board of Education room, which looked pretty nice to me, was just updated. This is the kind of spending, it's just ridiculous. They don't care. It's all about the top down, the administrator, this huge FCPS brand new building we have down here, filled with all these people that make almost triple what maybe the average citizen of Frederick County makes.
Yeah.
Not okay.
Yeah, no, that is not okay. Agreed. All right. How would you, or will you push for a line item budget and better accountability to the taxpayer?
Yes.
I think that's pretty clear. What do you think the solution is when there is a budget shortfall?
I don't know why they have a budget shortfall. Currently, my children are going to a private school. I homeschooled after I pulled them out, and I didn't think I'd be able to find another school that I would trust it, but I did. And so they're doing a private school now. And this school outperforms FCPS off the charts. They're so good. And it costs them about $11,000 a year. I mean, I don't even know that it costs so much. They do a lot of funding. So I think the founder did say it costs about $11,000 or roughly that. We almost get $19,000 per student for FCPS. So they're outperforming. The teachers are phenomenally happy. The kids are happy, happy, happy. They don't have therapists running all over the school. They have discipline. Yeah. They have real learning going on. These kids are, they're happy, they're brilliant, they're smiling, they're thriving. And so,
yep.
The money is not being spent wisely. Bless.
Excuse me. Sorry. Pardon me. All right. All right. This was a big thing. Actually, I was just in Monocacy Middle School today for the Harlem Wizards are coming.
Okay.
And I was talking to the principal, and he was telling me that he had to contact parents because there was no bus. So there is a bus driver shortage. What do you think we can do for that?
I think we just have to look at everything. When they literally, out of Dr. Cuppett's words at a curriculum and instruction meeting, he said, all right, the board has decided to prioritize diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And there are not a lot of tech companies that are going into this market because it's highly politicized. So that means that we are going to be choosing a less than perfect curriculum and throwing out this other one. And we know it's not better, but we're going to do it anyway. So, but we don't have bus drivers for our students.
All right.
It's really bad. And we can't do anything until we people that actually care about making a difference and a change get in there and figure out what's really going on. Because when you get the whole budget and the line on, you're not seeing the whole picture there either.
Yeah.
So we need a lot of transparency.
Yeah, you talked about this a little bit earlier, but the sports programs. So our kids graduated in 21 and 23. It was $95 a season per sport. I heard it's now $205 per season per sport. I've also heard that the ticket price of each of the games has risen, and you can only pay online, so there's no cash at the games anymore. How do you feel about all of this, and what do you think we can do to change that?
I do not agree with it being a cashless system. I am against that completely. And we have to do better for our families. They are already paying money for this. Homeschooling families, they pay taxes. They're not allowed to let their kids participate in any sports.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
It's really, and so I think if we were able to actually get in there and demand, and it's not like, I don't think FCPS is readily going to give over all their information either, but we really need to get in there and look deep at this budget and where this money's going. It's a mess. I can tell you that. They are literally just spending money. Nonstop.
Let's see with this one. Oh, that we've pretty much covered that. What about school safety and measures that schools are using now for students?
I'm a big proponent of the school resource officers and Sheriff Chuck Jenkins' program. I know they help. It's hard in a big school, though. Like, a fight can break out in a bathroom. It might take a few minutes to get there. I had this great student found me, and he's got his own TikTok account, and so he'll post stuff from our Board of Ed meetings and so forth. And so he sends me stuff, and there was a couple fights at Oakdale this year, and so that's actually why I stopped going to Board of Ed meetings. I rearranged my whole Valentine's Day to go to a Board of Ed meeting, and I was there at 5:55, but they wouldn't let me speak. So I was a little upset and I left, but I was going to speak that night he wanted me to go and speak about the school safety. So I was able to call on WFMD, and I was able to at least just get the information out there. And I was actually able to talk to the sheriff, who said that they're aware, and he didn't send me any more incidents from the school from that year. So hopefully they were able to kind of get it under control. So, but it's not okay for any child. I don't care who you are, to be bullied and that not to be taken care of. And it's not okay for fights to be going on. And these poor teachers, most of the videos he sent me, it was either a school resource officer or a teacher had to put themselves in the middle of these fights, and they're brave. It's scary.
So it is awful. It is awful. Well, it looks like I think we've ticked most of the questions that parents asked. Now what I'd like to do is to give you the floor and to let voters know why on November 5th they need to write in your name. Let's tell them too how they have to do it, right? Because they have to spell your name exactly. Is that correct?
So they can put my full name, Heather Fletcher, or you can write in just my last name, Fletcher. That, because I'm officially registered as a write-in candidate, it'll count if just my last name is written in. That's why most of my signs have Fletcher. I thought it might be a little bit easier to remember. But at the ballot, at the polling locations, when you go inside, they should have my name there. A list of all the write-ins. Now, I don't know how big that is.
Might have to look for it.
And, but I did check, and they're supposed to be at every single polling location. But there's nothing on the mail-in ballots about the write-in. So if you can remember Heather Fletcher, that's probably the safest bet. But Fletcher, according to their paperwork, should do the trick. And so And I'm running because I think that we can do a whole lot better for our kids. They're not safe, I don't believe, in Frederick County Public Schools at this time. They're teaching very sensitive, confusing things to students at middle and high school, and they have been since 2018. This information is very controversial. And in 2021, they approved teaching this comprehensive health education framework, which you can look up on my website at fletcher4boe.com or the state. And they approved, the Frederick County Board of Education approved to teach this framework starting in pre-K. And again, it's very controversial information. They've not said once what their goals are for teaching this or how it's supposed to help our students. They will refuse to listen to doctors and mental health professionals that have spoken out against it. So it's really bad. I'm also running to support and help protect women's sports, their private spaces. In Loudoun County, a young 14-year-old was abused in a bathroom by a young man dressed up in a skirt. And then the school board covered it up and they moved him to another school and he did it again. It's not a safe environment. Our superintendent just approved 35 obscene, explicit books to stay in the libraries, even though 70% on a Frederick News Post poll said that the parents were not for this. 70% of parents weren't for this. They approved it anyway. And so I think we can do better for our kids. They deserve better, and the parents deserve better, and our teachers deserve better. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you agree, you're going to write in Heather Fletcher for Board of Education candidate on November 5th. That's your polling date. You can, of course, watch all the other interviews we've done on our YouTube channel. We want to thank you for making the time this evening. Appreciate it.
So
answering
much,
the questions. And we will see you guys next time.